Alright, so since the 2021 movie award season has been a bit complicated, I decided while I wait for this year's Oscar nominees for Best Documentary, Best International, and Best Animated Feature, I decided to go back to the 2010 decade and look at the rest of the years that I didn't cover from 2010 to 2015. But I'm only going to be doing the animated ones because they're the easiest to do. If you have seen the other years I've talked about, you can go and revisit them, but unlike those, I will not be doing an individual review on all the nominees and winners. In here, I'll be going through 1 year per video and ranking all the nominees on what I think deserved or should have won the Oscar, and I'll give a mini review on each of them. And at the end, I will be discussing if any of the other nominees got some additional nominations and what other films could have been a better choice that the Academy should have nominated. It's basically what I do after I reviewed the last animated feature nominees, who were the winners at the end of those reviews. So if you saw my reviews on Zootopia, Coco, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and Toy Story 4, you're good to go. And after we finish 2015, I'll be concluding this retrospective on ranking all the 10 winning films and what I consider to be the best animated feature winner of the 2010 decade. So we will start this up, of course, at the beginning with 2010. Which was also the last year that the Academy only did 3 nominees before it was permanently at 5 starting the following year. And I won't introduce these nominees because I'm going to be counting them down anyways. If you know what they are, you know your knowledge. And out of all these, this might be the most predictable ranking here. And remember, this is all my opinion. It has nothing to do with some sort of bias. And I will have to remind this later when I do the best winner ranking. So with that being said, let us begin. Starting up at number 3 is The Illusionist. Out of all the 3 nominees, it was the only one that I watched for the first time. And some people know is that this film had a story that legendary French filmmaker Jacques Tati wanted to do, but with the story being too personal, he didn't do it. That's when one of the most iconic international animators from the independent features, Sylvain Chomet, decided to bring his story for his second animated feature, and it's really boring. As the script doesn't really develop much of our 2 main characters, since the movie barely has any dialogue. But I wouldn't blame this on the story, as it's more on a depressing side than a lighthearted one. And I'll admit, the sad ending is definitely one of the positives about the movie, and the score. For the animation, I feel a bit mixed, honestly, mainly due to the realistic character design, especially on the other outdated performers, with the new form of entertainment takes over, and we guarantee the rock band of the movie is supposed to be a reference to the Beatles. Yeah, the setting of the movie takes place in 1959 in the UK. It's just that a heavy subject of a popular entertainer would be out of work does have a unique story that can make sense in any other forms of settings, especially with the modern advancement of technology. And I mean, this could happen to any big YouTuber out there if the website shuts down. But in the vein where those forms of entertainment have been big in the modern era of talented competition shows on TV, when the public votes for sympathy instead of the talent itself. HET! In a movie that barely has any dialogue with some sad moments, it's definitely not a perfect film. But I will recommend only those who are fans of non-dialogue animated features. For my number 2... Toy Story 3. Yeah, you thought this list was predictable. The third animated feature to get a Best Picture nomination is at number 2 for me, and I will explain. This and my number 1 was pretty tough to decide on where I was going to put them. As I've said in my Toy Story 4 review, I said I couldn't be able to rank them. But after revisiting the first, second, and this one, and I'll be re-watching Toy Story 4 for the Best Winner video, I'll honestly say that the one Toy Story movie that I would not watch for a while is honestly Toy Story 3 here. Mainly due to the first act being at a very slow pace. Since we do get it that Andy's grown up and getting ready for college, and the rest of the gang don't believe in Woody of him saying that Andy was putting them in the attic, which, while trash, was a big element to the movie. This doesn't mean I say it's overrated. It's just that it's my only issue with the movie. But when Woody gets back to Sunnyside from her future owner's house, Bonnie, when he's talking to the chattered telephone, that's when the pace gets back the way like the previous films did. From the smart way of a prison for toys being at a daycare center, mainly due to Lotso, which without a doubt, the best villain of the series. So much so that Ned Beatty, the voice of Lotso, got an MTV Movie Award nomination for Best Villain, making it the first animated movie performance to be nominated for that. And the dumpster scene, with an unexpected catch with Lotso, decided not to push the stop button and leaves after Woody and Buzz saved his life. And of course, that famous ending. No recommendations here because it's obvious. And my number one of the animated feature nominees of the 2010 lineup is How to Train Your Dragon. The reason why I put this at number one instead of Toy Story 3 is mainly due to one question. Which film I would go back to? And I ended up being the DreamWorks film over a Pixar sequel. Unlike Toy Story 3, How to Train Your Dragon has a lot of memorable scenes, and this is mainly because of the characters and the animation. Granted, the story has the underdog plot, and I would say the first 16 minutes are not that good. But once Hiccup and the rest of the classmates starts their dragon fighting class, that's when the movie starts to get good all the way to the end. Astrid, who is of course attractive as always, the classmates aren't really that annoying, Stoic is definitely perfect, Gober is enjoyable, and that Queen Dragon is so intense and deadly. And the animation, despite some weird faces with the humans, the rest of it works so well, especially the flying and action scenes. But the one element that makes the movie great is the relationship between Hiccup and Toothless, from the moment when Hiccup captures him and sets him free, cause he was frightened like the dragon on who would be his best friend. And once again, no recommendations needed. As I said, it was tough between those two, and as much as I don't mind Toy Story 3 winning, but that's why I think How to Train Your Dragon should have won for Best Animated Feature at the Oscars. And I know there was that big scandal with the Annies that DreamWorks was cheating with the voting when it won everything it could win, so I won't go into that territory because, yeah, I can see why it was rigged. As for the other categories, I can't really say much about. Original score for How to Train Your Dragon, as it lost to The Social Network, and Best Sound Editing, Best Adapted Screenplay, and Best Picture for Toy Story 3, which lost to Inception, The Social Network, and The King's Speech in those three categories. Because as of this recording, I haven't yet to see a lot of those movies nominated because, well, I was 10 when they came out, and 11 during the award season, which of course back at my age I couldn't watch them. I know I can now, but I might be too lazy right now. But then there's the original song category, when Toy Story 3 won for the end credits song We Belong Together, which gave Randy Newman his second Oscar. And for me, it would be at number 2 like the animated category. It is better than If I Rise from 127 Hours and Coming Home from Country Strong, but I would have given it to I See the Light from Tangled. Speaking of Tangled, now we get into the question, what other films could have been a better choice that the Academy should have nominated, if you go by the 3 from that year? For me, I would keep How to Train Your Dragon and Toy Story 3, but take The Illusionist out. The obvious two are the other big contenders from that year, were Illumination Entertainment's Despicable Me and Walt Disney Animation Studios' Tangled. Many of you think I would say the latter, but I do find Tangled to be a bit overrated as well. For Despicable Me, I didn't like it as a kid, but since I haven't seen it in years, and I'll have to wait and see if I like it now or think it's overrated when I revisit it for 2013 when I talk about Despicable Me 2. Then you get the other DreamWorks films, Megamind, which many people considered an underrated film from the studio, and the conclusion of the Shrek series with Shrek Forever After, which was mixed with critics, and Animal Logic's Legends of the Guardians, The Owls of Ga'Hoole, from the same studio that brought you the 2006 Oscar-winning animated feature, Happy Feet. Megamind could be a maybe. Shrek Forever After I do consider underrated, but that's not saying it without rewatching Megamind, and I'm not sure about Owls of Ga'Hoole. So this wraps up my ranking on the best animated feature nominees of 2010. If you enjoyed this video, hit that subscribe and like button, and comment down below what is your ranking of these films if you have seen the three, and do you think Toy Story 3 deserved the Oscar for Best Animated Feature or not? Now you would think the next years are going to be bland because the ranking might be predictable. But the next ranking I'm the most curious about because we go into 2011 with a very interesting list of nominees that has one element missing for that lineup. Try to guess what it is in the comments until I get to that video.